to the Power Hour.
Welcome to the Power Hour. It's a personal Power Hour, really, today, because we're talking about my wonderful, interesting, cheapest chips setup. I have done a little investing, as they always say, in some technology, because with the number of shows I'm running, all the effort to produce this stage behind me is fantastic, but it makes it difficult to differentiate between different types of shows. So obviously I need a new stage, and I think I could probably just about squeeze 3 into this space, which would mean moving all the cameras, the lights, and all the other things, or at least making them so they could turn and fit the multiple stages. So this is when I need VizRT, isn't it? I need VizRT's ultimate system that they run their big studio TV productions. But few of us have that budget. So the only real way to simulate multiple backgrounds is to be able to remove the background and replace it with something else. And Mike's wondering if I'm just going to go like that and suddenly it's going to happen. Well, Mike, it isn't. Dear audience, it's not going to happen like that. But I can show you the steps that I've already made towards building that reality and some of the conclusions that I have come to, but are quite humbly ready for people to nudge me, maybe slightly different direction. So I'm relying on you in the comments to help me, because poor old Mike can't do it all on his own. He needs some support too, you know. He needs some love. So let's go through the tech first, because this has been interesting in itself for me. Let me give you the problem again as it works in my mind, and then we'll go through the processes and hopefully get some feedback from you guys on what we can do. And I can tell you that it's such a big subject that Mike's already gone for his juice. Yep. I've never known him have to take a drink so early in the show. Okay, so I have put together a few slides for you in PowerPoint and using my PowerPoint app. Mike, don't forget to make me remember the importance of AI in everything I'm doing. And audience, just count how many times I refer to AI. So with the technology of my Extreme ISO by Blackmagic over there, which will allow me to switch my camera to the view from that computer over there with one button. I know, it's not that impressive, is it? But I do now have another Stream Deck running on a very long USB cord, which is going to allow me to change the slides on the slide deck from my other machine. Oh, I said, remind me, yes, because this app was written for me by AI, which allows me to go on my Stream Deck, one button, and suddenly I get to my first slide. And none of you are impressed, but I promise you I am, because this little app that I've written on my Stream Deck to allow me to control all my slides and remind me which slide deck I'm using, to me, is very useful. And it tells me on slide 2 of 9, and I have to mention that because it was Mike's idea to get the app to tell me how many slides I have, and I have to remember to thank him every time I run it. So when I first started in this world, and I know I'm the young'un compared to most of you pros out there, but there's a lot of us that joined when COVID struck. And when COVID struck, I was struck with a problem of my own. And that problem was this. I had just discovered video mixing within the last few months. I'd been thrust upon me Zoom because we needed to run online meetings. other services are available. Don't think they're as good, but other services are available. And within a week of getting my Toastmasters International clubs in the UK onto that platform, we then had to run our district conference, for which we have booked a beautiful hotel conference centre in London, which we now couldn't use. We also now couldn't get the deposit back either, although we did, I believe, eventually. And I now had to work out how using this product called Zoom, which could only run meetings, although I managed to get a license for 1,000 people in a meeting. And I managed to get another 15 licenses for just running meetings. So I had my virtual spaces, do we call them, where I could put my virtual audience and the competitions and all the other things. But also heard of this product called vMix. And that supposedly allowed me to mix things together. So on vMix, we have a preview and a program. We can choose inputs from various sources and we can add overlays. And for most of you, that is quite a common thing, because whether you're using OBS vMix or many of the Mac applications, that's what we do. We mix things together and it works really well. And for the conference, it was mind-blowing for the audience because, of course, most of them didn't even know what video conferencing was at that time. But with the vMix, I was able to overlay lower thirds to announce who was next, what the name of the speaker was. I was able to create a little button in the right-hand corner, which was 3 circles, and they represented the speaking lights that we use for telling people when they're up to time and over time, which, of course, in Toastmasters competitions is very important, because if you talk over 30 seconds from when you are red lighted, you're kicked out of the competition. If you don't make it within 30 seconds of the first light, the green light, you're kicked out of the competition. So those lights are really important. And the guys in the audience were over the moon that they could see the lights and therefore they could monitor how well speakers were going for time. And so vMix gave me a way that I could control the whole audience. I could get the whole experience of them. And more than a TV show, I could add graphics. And I'm very proud to say that we had a broken pencil graphic for when things go wrong. And I ran that for 2.5 days, that event. About 14 hours on Saturday and Sunday, and about 4 hours, I think, on the Friday. Although the whole system slowed down, because after 14 hours, Windows does have a problem in running all these things, as you all know. It never had a problem. It never broke. Oh, that's not true. It did break at one point when I was actually given an award in the Friday night. No, on the Saturday night. I wasn't aware I was going to be given an award, and I actually didn't have a camera set up for myself. So you could say it broke then because I hadn't planned right. But that was a virtual place and a virtual audience and a virtual stage with lower thirds and graphics, which was fantastic. But if we're going to fix the problem of how do I make behind me change, we need to go another level higher, don't we? We need to separate speaker from background. Now, I could pull across my pop-up green screen I've got down next to me, and I could then take myself into another stage. But I have one big issue, which has got a lot to do with money and why I've gone in the direction that I have gone so far. And that is because of the AI problem we have of memory getting expensive, graphics cards getting expensive. I have a PC over there, which is now 2 years old. Maybe it's 3 years old, actually. It looks in good nick, so maybe it's only 2 years old. But it has a 40 series, top of the range NVIDIA graphics card. but it will probably cost 50% more than that cost. Maybe even, dare I say it, twice as much as that cost. If I was to build a 50 series top of the range machine with all the memory and all the other paraphernalia in it at today's prices. And if I'm saying that I want a software solution to make my green screen work, we know that green screen can be a processor dependent function, a very hard processor dependent function when you get to the quality, which is why all of us, I believe all of us here, will probably say that the in-app green screen removal services of webinar type products, of webcam products, is never good. You wave your hands and suddenly your fingers go green or even disappear. And even if I had those, the fact that I'd have to spend so much money on a PC to run the software, that to me is an issue. It's also an issue to me that I am always concerned, and we had this fun conversation before about when is a PC and when is a PC an appliance? And I think Mike's definition is a PC is an appliance when it runs the one app it was designed for and nothing else. Which is why if I wanted to do a dedicated software solution, I would have to buy, or I'd have to cannibalize a PC in my collection. And yes, I could do it on my Macs as well. I've got Mac Minis and Mac Studios. I could cannibalize one of those, run software on there, but it's still the same situation. Is my Mac Studio going to be something that I want to give up everything else to get this? What do I do? Well, vMix, our friend at vMix, yeah, they've got a green screen removal system in their software. But with all due respect to vMix, I think it's only maybe better than those built-in apps, but it's not a professional green screen system. Now, they can argue that back, and I'll be happy to have that argument with them. And I'd love to hear the argument of why it is. But I don't think it is because it doesn't have the finite controls. What I mean by the finite controls is the edge cases. And I don't mean the edge cases in software. I mean the edge cases, the edges around me. That's when the problems happen. Because in my non-technical brain, it's really easy. It's like a PNG and an MPEG. No, sorry, try again. It's a PNG and a JPEG. A PNG has each pixel perfectly set as the pixel. And that's why it can do transparency, because you can knock out some pixels and make them transparent. A JPEG is a optimized version of the image. It's use some maths to reduce the content and make the image look good, but reducing the content to reduce file size means in the edge cases, those overlaps between the green screen and what you want to show are going to be merged pixels. That's the problem. I'm sure there's a more technical answer, but that's the one we'll stick with today. It is the merging of those pixels that causes the problem of the spill, and then you need software to go around the edge. I have a very good example this week of a friend of mine who was using OBS green screen removal, and his beautiful blonde hair had an ugly green tinge to it. Now, many people will just ignore that. After all, he was just using OBS, so he's allowed to get to that level. But you're going to be charging your customers for this service. They're not going to accept that, are they? Let's be honest. They will not accept that. They want a better answer. So where do we go? Well, how about a bit of hardware? Yeah, a bit of hardware, a bit of dedicated hardware to the whole process of producing green screens. And I am fortunate that I managed to pick up one of these secondhand, unopened, unused. I believe it was the backup for a company who had the top of the range Ultimats, and this was their backup. I haven't yet found anything wrong with it, but I suppose until I've used it in anger, I'm not going to know. But at the moment, it seems to be okay. And this is a dedicated box for taking out the green screen. Yes, it's Blackmagic. Yes, I have a lot of Blackmagic equipment. I chose Blackmagic for reasons of the ATEM, and I honestly stick to Blackmagic in a lot of cases simply because I feel safer having one manufacturer doing my whole throughput than mixing them, because I see so many problems with mixing manufacturers in other places. So being a bit of a scary kid, I don't want to mix it. But of course, that gives me a problem. And the problem is, how am I going to get my signal from that unit into whatever I'm going to play with? And so I've got two answers to that. Firstly, this one, which actually doesn't work for reasons we'll go through in a minute. I have a Blackmagic card for doing simple capture. And then I have a proper one. This gives me 4 inputs or outputs that I can specify, and I need them. And this is why. And this is why I have also gone for hardware. So the Ultimate gives me 3 outputs. And those 3 outputs allow me to have the image that has been taken off the green screen. It allows me to have a mask so I can show the software at the other end where I have a blank. And then it gives me a program output because I can actually I can load in my background images into this device and it will do the change for me. And I'm watching Mike's face here because I'm expecting him to criticize me for what I've said, but he hasn't so far. So confident, I'm going to go on. And by the way, I did nick these contents from documentation to try and make sure I was as accurate as I could be. So this is the DIY. This is the DIY as in do it yourself in the box. It removes the green screen. It adds the background. It removes the green spill. It blends the shadows, which is all these edge cases things, and it gives me one video signal complete. So that means, if I've got this right, that box has for me the ability to change this background like that. So I'm not going to do it. I'm going to change this background like that and allow me to be in a different place virtually without moving because I replaced my background with a pop-up green screen. It's not instant. Well, it is instant, but it's not instant. And what I mean by that is once you have your light set up and you want to make sure your lights are professionally set up, not some just little ring light. You want professional light set up. You can then go into this box and there are, and I don't understand them all yet. I'm still trying to get my head around it, but there are lots of little twiddly knobs, virtual twiddly knobs and physical twiddly knobs that you can use to optimize the whole signal so you can make sure that that edge case works as perfectly as you can for your scenario. So it's not plug and play because there's no AI working out the settings for you. You do it yourself. But I like that because once you've got it set, you know it's set. But once that is done, what we are then sending out the other end is I suppose the word's composite, isn't it? It's a composite of you, and it's a composite of you plus your background that you've put into the system. And the reason I'm probably overstressing this point is I can now take that as a video signal. And for anything I put that in, whether it be a switcher or a computer or a video in or whatever, wherever I put that signal, that is just going to be seen at the other end as, oh, here's a signal from a camera. Well, it's from a video source anyhow. That's about all I know. And the fact that I fiddle around with it is going to make no difference to the receiving source. In fact, the only issue I have with the receiving source may be the fact that I'm now in an SDI workflow. And if I want to get it back into my other computers, I'm going to need to convert it back to HDMI maybe. But as far as the signal is concerned, it's now a composite signal. So I can see why people would consider purchasing the base level model which doesn't have so much fiddly things around the edges, but I can see why people will buy the base model, which has HDI inputs, by the way. And if they wanted a simple podcast setup and they just wanted to get rid of the green screen and they didn't want to get sophisticated, I can see how that would be a fantastic solution. And the reason I didn't buy that model was I happened to pick up a unit on eBay for almost the same price, which was the next model up. Seems stupid not to do so. So that's why I had the next model. That's what I will explain to my accountant when he asks me how much money I spent on it. I'm sticking to that. I'm told by the documentation that that model has the same ability to get rid of green screen as the higher models. The only difference is the higher models run 4K. Well, I am not looking to run a full 4K system in this office for probably forever, because there is no advantage in me, as 99.99% of everything I send out to anywhere is always HG. And the only time I can think me not wanting to run 4K would be if I was sending something up to a 4K screen, which would be here, and therefore wouldn't have to go through the workflow. I can support 4K out of here into my office without any problem. Don't need all my infrastructure plugged in to do that. Be nice, but let's face it, cost of chips processing and computers processing HD at 1080p is a mile away from 4K 2160. So I'm not going to do it. Let's have, I'm just checking from my screen. Note to me, I must have a preview screen up here somewhere so I can preview my slideshow. So I know what the next slide is, and then I know what to talk about when I flip over. So this is the technical explanation of what we just talked about. We've got a camera connected to an Ultimat. We've got the background loaded into the Ultimat. We have a program out to a recorder, an encoder, a switcher, wherever you like, and you've got a completely finished image. And this is a really neat way of green screen solution. And I've got to make this point. All right. I really have to make this point. I'm going to hammer it hard. This could cost you between $400 and $800, probably, roughly. Get one of the two models. That's a lot of money. But if you have any reason why you would need a PC to be part of your solution, suddenly that budget looks cheap. And whether he's nodding or not, we'll have to bring Mike in a minute. But before I do, I will just go one slide further so we've got the whole picture. And then Mike can rip me apart and improve my setup for me. The other option is the funny option. I say they're funny because to me, this is like mind-blowing. The funny option is you put the camera into the Ultimat, and then the Ultimat doesn't do your green screen processing for you all the way. What it does is it takes away the green screen, and then it gives you two outputs. It gives you a fill output, which, if I get it in the right order, is the output of you with the background removed, the green screen, and a matte output, which is like a black and white version of that output, so that the system that receives those two signals will now know which bit is where you are, and it can use the matte to work out which bit it needs to provide backgrounds. And that's how it sort of becomes a PNG in video form. So the switcher, as it says there, performs the final keying. Sorry, this is very unprofessional to read slides, but I want to make the point. It provides the final keying of Ultimat process foreground and background matte. The background is selected inside the switcher, not inside Ultimat. You produce the background where you want it. And that's really big, because it might be you're sending it to another ATEM or multi-production workflow. But it also means you could take this into any software, like 3D graphics software, maybe Blender, or maybe some 3D production software that does games. And you could now drop yourself in because you now have the mat to tell it where the background needs to come in. And you are now a 2D object in a 3D world. That 3D world could be a 3D world like games, or maybe you could build a impressive 3D structure, which is your show, and then drop the 2D version of you into that particular structure. Because what I like about this is we have those two inputs and we can send those two inputs anywhere. We haven't got an enclosed system where it's all being done and the background's being taken care of and we have no control. Now we are sent two inputs, plug into anything, and we can now take that and put it into any app we like. And for me, that's another reason to do it in dedicated hardware and not on a computer, because I now have that break of processing, which gives me multiple opportunities. And that's, for me, future-proofs everything I do here, because I've got the chance that if I don't like what environment I put my virtual self into, I don't need to throw out my green screen processing part of the process and start again. I've got my green screen process. I can now add my background process to that system, and I can have multiple background processes for different shows. I'm not tied into one environment. And that's why I think that a dedicated device is a better option. And as Mike comes to the stage, I will just mention one but. And the one but is you can't, shouldn't, not advised to use that green screen box for multiple cameras. You should keep one box for one camera, because otherwise all that twiddling you did to optimize it for the lighting that you had around you will get ruined. And the other camera angle will not have the same exact settings and it won't work. That's my last gotcha. Let's see what Mike's got for you. See, I even thought about that link. I really thought about that link. Mike, welcome to the show. Great to have you here.
You really, really thought about that, did you?
I did.
Okay, I'm just making sure that I'm unmuted. Okay.
You were
The system
unmuted,
was
yeah.
acting up there.
Yeah, we all did note you looking towards your microphone button. That was very professional of you.
Thank you, sir. Hi, everybody. So John hasn't said anything wrong yet. If that's what John wants me to pick on him for, he's not going to get any picking on from me. Oh, okay. I'll pick on him that he's drinking water on camera. How was that for? There you go. So that much. That's about as all I can pick on him right now. But yes,
That was an amazement
green
drink.
screaming. Yeah, that was a what? That was an
amazement drink.
An amazement drink. Excellent. He was amazed that I'm not actually saying anything negative towards him. That's cool. So when it comes to green screen, yes, absolutely. And again, of course, a lot of software, and there's a lot of webcam software that John has talked about that will allow you to do it. You can go get a green screen on your infamous Amazons. They're not that, and then you can get your Ring camera or your Ring light and put it around your phone, and then put the phone in the middle, and then all of a sudden you've got a green screen, and when you look at it, and it's like, again, perfect example that John was talking about, hair. Hair is usually a dead giveaway of how badly green screened the person is, or how badly lit, at minimum, the person is. And again, yes, so John is talking about using definitely the black magic stuff, but he's right as well, because of the fact that you are, even though the software is compatible to being able to do green screening, your machine might not be powerful enough to do green screening and what else you want to do. So if you want to use it for an example, insert all our letters that we usually do, which is our W, our T, and our Z. If you're doing any of those brands of video conferencing and they all have green screen capabilities built into them, if you really looked at them and you have put a background behind it, chances are you're going to see, John hasn't mimicked yet, the infamous headphone situation, which is another bad one that the green screening has no clue about. John's infamous chair, which I think he'll probably talk about that again too, will be another problem. Yeah, there you go. And you can see how magically John disappears if you do the wrong color selections as well. And that's all. Yeah. So then all of a sudden now it does some really interesting things. So yes, so you could actually do you actually become more unprofessional, even though you think you're being more professional by doing a green screen. So there's, again, as John said, there's a right way of doing the green screen, and there's really a really bad way of doing a green screen. And right now, yes, John is doing what he's doing, but John doesn't have a green screen behind him. So that's why all the colors are going really weird on him as I'm talking to him. Oh, does that mean he's going to pull up a green screen? We'll see. He's looking down.
I don't think there's a space to do it in a unclumsy way.
Mm-hmm. But yes, John does have a pull-up screen, which he's mentioned. And on top of that too, will the pull-up screen, as John disappears on me, because he broke something. Go figure. But I'm here. I'm still here. And he's back. There we go. And you can see even with him using slides, how that does that too. Didn't do too bad. Nah, no, not great. Even on the, and I'll share everybody what John's doing here full screen so you can see what he's showing you there. That's him trying to green screen the white background of the slide. But yeah, as you can see, even the information for the actual brand beside the HD actually too also got, because it's also white, it also green screened itself as well. So you got to be very careful when you're green screening, because you could actually look more unprofessional even though you think you're being professional. And I've let
So that's it. Yeah, so that's it. That's what I've done. But I feel so far justified in my practice. I've looked at some other tools, Ximmetry, good example. But I feel that there needs to be a break between the green screen and the background and the processing of that.
Yes.
And then what you put back into it.
Yeah.
So I've got some tricks for you. I've got some suggested tricks for you. You can't, as we said, you can't have a device that will do all the screens for you. Oh, you can. Okay. So, but it's, it's way out of your budgets, guys, because you'd need AI. And if you're thinking of running 4K at 60 frames a second, because that's where you all guys want to be, do you really think it's going to be inexpensive to have a AI running to process a 4K video feed at 60 frames a second? No, it's going to be ridiculously expensive and really complicated and probably not perfect either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if you have yourself on a big stage, so if you've got a wide shot of the environment and you're a small character, you could probably get away with the lesser quality green screen products at that distance, because it's the edge cases, as we say, that give you away. And if you're a small thing in a big stage, the edge case is probably going to get squashed down to no size at all. So if you can keep your close up to your dedicated box, you may be able to get away with further away shots that have the problem because they got lower spec green screen removal, but because you're smaller on the stage, it won't be so obvious. And that's where I think you can compensate, cheat, or whatever phrase you want to use to do it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to go, I don't want to go away from multi-camera, but I'm not going to buy a green screen converter for every multi-camera.
Right. But again, this is what, if you're in the big boy studios that have green screen all the time and you have the multiple angles, 9 times out of 10, that's what they're doing, is they've got multiple of those machines that John has shown. Chances are in the 4K realm, but multiples of those machines anyways, that are, every camera needs it.
Yeah.
And every camera needs to be tweaked.
Yep. And it's not such a big issue, because if you've got a proper 4K studio camera, which you maybe spent $3,000, $4,000 or ridiculous dollars on, then to spend $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, I'm trying to remember the prices of it now, for a item that takes away that green screen for you in a box and means you don't have to process it further up the chain, then that's reasonable value. I wasn't going to say cheap, because at that price, nothing's cheap, but it's reasonable value compared to your other equipment. If you're using a $800, $1,500, $2,000 camera, then it's more difficult to justify getting a 4K Ultimate to bring you into that world. Maybe you just bring a 1080 version of yourself. Because if you're going to make yourself, even if your final version is 4K, if you're going to make yourself into a smaller item on that big stage, you'll never be in 4K yourself either. So you've got to think about, we all love the idea of being in 4K because 4K's there, but I would prefer, Mike, to be a quality image at 1080/60 than pushing the point and looking a little bit unreal, a little bit film-like, when I don't want to be film-like, at 30 frames, 60, 4K.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, and even down to the true film frame rate, which is 24 frames a second. But no, I get where you're going with that, John. When it comes to, and this is again, it's all about the workflow. And again, because we are production professionals out there, we do what our clients need us to do, and it's best for us to make sure that we educate our clients properly when it comes to resolution, because everybody assumes that you can do everything that they see on the latest video or the latest movie that is being done on Netflix. They basically make you the equivalent to a Netflix blockbuster video that just came out on their Netflix, and they want that quality because they pay Netflix that much money. So they think that they only have to pay our professionals that much money so that you could do 4K as well. So again, we've got to make sure that as production professionals, we educate our clients properly that, 4K is nice as long as you've got the budget for it, because, and again, even broadcast television is still not 4K. There's a full stop right there. Take that into consideration now. They might be shooting in 4K. They might be mastering in 4K, but they're not broadcasting at 4K.
That's true.
Think about that. And the only real industry that is actually taken on the true 4K 60 frames a second, and even then sometimes only 4K 30 frames a second, is the sports world. So if our production professionals are doing sports, then chances are you may be asked to do 4K. But there's a reason for that.
But you'll have a 4K infrastructure. So this wouldn't be such a big issue. And please, the other thing that we haven't mentioned, which I must mention because it's the last note on my list of notes to mention, is post-production. Remember what you need to do live and what you need to do in post-production, because you can use AI tools, you can use green screen removal tools in post-production that may take a lot longer to produce, but will produce high quality output, because in post-production, you've got the time. So make sure that your production produces what you need, but don't worry about the post-production, because post-production has got lots of time. You can even remix if you really needed to. But you can have AI post-production tools that work really well. And because you don't need them in real time, they can do it for you. When you get to post-production, then the common video processing tools, I can remember, I can actually in my mind's eye see the settings in Premiere. I'm sure it's in the others as well. They have all those spill reduction controls, those minute controls in them. And you can use those in that system. And they will produce a really good output. They will take more than an hour to produce an hour of content because they don't need to be in real time. But it doesn't matter. If they take 4 hours or 8 hours or even a whole day, if they are able to process it to that quality that you need, then they're doing their job. Just don't promise your customer will give the recording back in 24 hours when you know that post-production is going to take all this time. But the fact is, they work and they can do it because by taking longer and doing it, they're putting more processing effort into each frame. More processing effort over a longer time means you don't need such a powerful computer or software or everything else to produce it. And therefore, when you get to post-production, there is a get out of jail card, as the Monopoly people would say. There is an option there to save you. You only need to make sure that Greenscreen Live works for Greenscreen when your output is going to be needed live. And if it is, then you need the workflow. But I think, look, I'm impressed by everything AI does. After all, it's AI that made that piece of software, which allows me to have my own completely customized, with a bit of help from Mike, my completely customized Stream Deck controller for my PowerPoint slides over there. And I quite often now will write little AI tools to do little AI jobs. AI is doing fantastically well. And I'm sure it's going to be an amazing tool for us when we get rid of green screens. But Mike, that's one thing. Doing it all in real time, that's a completely bucket of fish, not just a kettle, a complete bucket of fish. And
Absolutely.
I've seen it done by our friends, BizRT for TV production studios. But there's a heck of a lot of noughts on the end of that they need to get the equipment together to produce that. And that doesn't surprise me. And that's quite okay. But that's a guide for us that it's going to be a heck of time. I'm sure it'll happen eventually, but it's going to be a heck of time before you can get 4K production done by AI in real time, especially as they're considering the idea as that I don't need a green screen. The idea is that I would disappear off the frame. And it would take, maybe my chair would be taken out of the frame. And then the AI would take a photo of what's there. And then the AI would make the decision that anything that joins that background would be foreground, and it would take out the background. So it would use AI. I mean, they show this happening at football stadiums. I don't know how clever the AI is. If somebody walking across the pitch behind them while they're doing the interview, what happens to that person? Do they get AI'd out, or they're allowed to walk behind the pitch? These are just sort of the questions that you have when you don't have a straight green screen. What happens when the background is moving, and how is the AI going to process that? And yeah, I've just made the job for AI even bigger. And that's why I really don't think they can help us in real time. for as long as I think I probably will be bothered to be involved in this, but we'll see. However, when it comes to post-production, and you can set the settings and you can customize the settings and you've got AI as well, that is a completely other world.
Right. And two, John, what you're talking about too, when you're talking about AI, again, we're not talking about everybody using an AI system that's remote, because we're talking about actually having a physical AI system in-house, right? That
Not
is
not
so
just
important.
in-house. It's got to be here. It's got to be physically in-house. It's got to be
Yes.
inside the chain. Otherwise, we've got those lag problems, haven't we? We
Yes.
can't afford to send a frame to AI and then 2 minutes later it sends the frame on. We've got to have, virtually no lag situations. I know in the production world we have lags and we try to hide it so the customers don't know they exist. But those lags we have, anything over half a second, and we're all getting really annoyed because we say, well, if you're half a second and that's half a second, look at the delay we're getting. So we want our lags to be really small, and to do that in AI, it's got to be literally under your feet, processing the frames as they come out of the camera if they're going to make it AI, because delay is the demon that stops us telling us we're live anymore. Sorry, I got a bit excited.
I know, but no, and when it comes to, but that it's so important, John, that either the actual equipment itself has AI in it. So like, you never know that eventually Black Magic could actually upgrade. This is guessing. I'm not saying that this is going to happen, and nor do I have any knowledge from Black Magic, but there is the potential that there could be in a newer version down the road where they now, in that same system that John was showing, now also have AI in there.
Definitely. I could see, let's hint them even further, shall we? Because I could see me being able to set the scene, and it'll be lovely to have a bit of AI created by Black Magic, which could then help me tweak my settings to the optimum performance for their equipment.
Right. Yeah,
and that
absolutely.
would be a step forward.
Yeah. So you basically sit there and it goes, sit there for 2 minutes. No, I'm going to tweak the whole system for you and at least give you a starting point of all the, as John was talking about, all the little twiddly knobs, getting all those tuned in to at least what AI thinks is good. Then, and chances are, since AI already knows its own system that it's built into, then chances are for you to tweak it, it might be very, very minuscule.
But that would be lovely. And we don't mind a commission check for the idea. I'm sure they thought of it. They're thinking of it.
I'm sure there's something going on there. Yeah.
Yeah. Even if it was online, connection, you connected your Ultimate online, and the system, said, now take yourself out of the frame, and then it screen captures, and then now join the frame, and you go back into the frame, and then as you say, it then does all the alterations on the settings and finds you an ultimate setting. I think that would, that would probably increase the sales, wouldn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
If you had a tool like that can optimize it, that would increase sales.
Yeah. And even, you never know, knowing our infamous Black Magic, all of a sudden, all it takes is, it might be just as simple as a firmware upgrade, because the equipment's already there, and where they need to just build in, maybe there's enough horsepower underneath the hood that they're not using.
It doesn't even have to be there. If they can connect the Ultimate to some AI system they got in the cloud that can tweak the settings for you and send the answer back into the Ultimate, they don't even need the AI in the Ultimate. They only need it to communicate to something in the cloud, and they would have an answer.
But again, too, this would definitely be needed depending on the complexity, right? Because again, this would be, it would be okay for us doing what we're doing now in the studio, but all of a sudden, if somebody was actually standing and walking around, you'd have to more have that AI then for sure within the physical unit would be my thought. Because again, this is where, again, a lot of graphics, a lot of GPUs, or even the actual GPU chips within the actual chroma key systems, this is what their job is to all of a sudden, oh, he moved a little bit. Now I have to figure out every time that you physically twitch or move or anything else, do I need to do something with the green screen portion or not? Right. So that's where
Yeah.
AI would have to go, look, keep looking, every frame, keep still looking. Yeah. Oh, anything exciting? Not yet. Oh, the person just got up. Oh, okay. Now we're doing a lot of stuff. Now all of a sudden the GPU might have been doing next to nothing. So all of a sudden going, hello, it's speaking up like crazy, and all of a sudden now all kinds of processes are happening in the background just to keep up with it. And I've seen even, and I have to do it to my friends at the NHL, is that this is a problem right now for me. I have a tough time. They're not doing green screening per se, but it is a function. It's basically similar functionality that they're doing, which is that they're replacing the advertising on the actual hockey boards on the actual in the rink itself, and they're putting their own on top of it. And when they're panning the camera and such, I can actually see that the system that they're using is not keeping up, and it's actually starting to stutter. So you can imagine this is a high-end hockey sports game, and the camera is forever panning this way and that way. And yes, John is right. How many cameras are they doing that on? One. Could they afford putting that on their 16 cameras for them to do that? No. As soon as they go to another camera, you see the local advertising on the boards. And that's the NHL.
There's no standard, is there? There's no standard for a video feed with a transparent background. There's a standard for video playing. There are certain video formats that you can play, like MOV, which have I suppose it is a lossless type output where you can have a background. So they are the video supported version of the PNG. But I don't think there's any video signal that anyone's playing with which has the ability to send the signal as a transparent background, which is why on the Ultimate you've got a matte output and you've got a video output, because the video output can't hold transparency.
Right. It would be more of there are protocols.
Do you think this is a missing link that we should maybe with all these people talking about 21p and all these other MXL protocols, all these other protocols that we can't talk about because they haven't been decided yet, but all these new protocols that are coming out, do you think there is a place for a protocol that allows you to send out a big video signal with a transparency? Would that be useful to the market?
Interesting. When it comes to what I'm currently involved with and currently know about, and some things I can talk about and I can't, the possibilities are there to have certain protocols actually send your key and your fill. So as Johnny explained before, you could, but again, it would not be, so they basically could be IP based key and fill video
you send
feeds.
Them together.
They're still independent.
Yeah.
Which you would still need to be independent, just like the Ultimate has. In theory, you could, with a protocol, but the protocol itself isn't really understanding that it's a key. You'd still have to you'd still need the Ultimate to split everything.
That's my problem. That's my problem and my question to you, because I can understand why you want the key and the fill to be separate signals, because the whole infrastructure, all the software and everything that receive it expects the two separate signals as a key and fill, because that's how they process the data. But what I'm suggesting
it will always
is
be the cleanest if you have a key and a fill. Yeah.
But what I'm suggesting is, should there not be a protocol that allows the key and the fill to be sent together, so you don't get any latency, you don't get any signal, you don't get any, issues with one signal getting to the system, especially when we're going to the IP world, one becoming a frame ahead of the other, because a frame out would just be disaster, wouldn't it, for those two key and fills?
Yes. So so basically what John is talking about is that the protocol itself would basically, again, depending on the encoding side and the decoding side. So this is the important part, right? The video always gets encoded and then gets decoded in one way or another. You might not think of it that way, but there's always going to be some processing done to a video, and there's always and that other end is going to have to know how to unprocess that processing, right? Without getting into really high end stuff. That's the easiest way of saying that. So the other way of what John is talking about too is that, okay, so now I've got the key and the fill. Can I actually combine those two into their own video channels and send that down simultaneously down one connection, and then at the other end be able to go, okay, yeah, that's video channel 1, that's video channel 2, pop it out of that one connection, and then do with it as I please.
Yep.
Protocol wise,
yeah,
I would say no right now from what I know off the top of my head.
Okay.
Technology wise, potential, because that would take me into the days of where we used to have high def and standard def being sent down the same pipe, right?
Yeah.
Now that, so in that regards, possible, but it would have to be manipulated, and the amount of bandwidth would have to be equalized, because again, usually in that world, the HD got the majority of the bandwidth because it needed it, where the SD did not. So it got a smaller chunk. But there is, I can't see why you couldn't.
Can you see why I think it's an issue?
Yes.
Can you see?
It would all be
the
about
issue?
the packaging packaging at the encoder side.
Yeah.
And then that data going down to something that understands the data being packaged, having what it has, and being unpackaged again. Right? That's the encoding, decoding, and if you need to transcode at both ends, that becomes a whole other scenario. But encoding, decoding, you would have to have the protocol or the technology, let's even go more basic, that whatever is being brought in, think of it as, sure, we'll go down this road, and it's a bad example, but I'm going down there anyways. Think of it as you're putting two files into a zip file. Now you're sending that zip file to somebody, and now somebody has to unzip it, and now you got the two files in there. Same situation. You're basically now got to put the video, two videos, and the audio, if you really want to go down that road, or whatever you want to combine into that clump of data at the encoding side, and then put that together, compress it, because compressing is not a bad thing, but try to do, as John said, lossless compression, meaning I'm not disturbing the quality inside it, and send it down as fast as I can to the other end, and then have them, meaning the decoder side, be able to now take that clump of data that has whatever's inside it that I sent, to be able to take it out and then do with it what I please.
Okay,
But
so
yeah,
when
it comes to that, no, I don't know of anything specific on the market right now that does that.
Okay,
But
so
I would
I'm doing the
expect that to
Olympics.
be a dedicated hardware piece for sure if it did.
Okay, if I'm doing the Olympics, and I am at the Olympic venue, and I'm the presenter, and I've got a green screen behind me because the team have thought it'd be really cool to superimpose me upon the action when the action's happening. So I am now a twin signal, because I'm now me and my mat. That now gets sent around the world to the production center at the other end.
Yeah.
How does the production center at the other end know those two signals that I've just sent are still in sync?
Right. So right now, how they do it would be they are two physical connections using off the top of my head, probably the best one that would be the most reliable at this point would be SRT, because I would then be able to at least control more of the actual latency reduction of, because I have to still send those two physical feeds of the one being the key, one being the fill down the road. And that would definitely need to, the SRT capabilities in the actual protocol itself would be able to handle that. But you'd again probably have to do a lot of tweaking prior to going live. This would not be a 5 minutes to air scenario of, oh, John's in front of a green screen. Oh crap. No, that would take a bit, because again, you would want to make sure that the connection would be reliable. How they used to do that before they went to IP, these would be individual video fiber feeds coming from the venue. And again, that would be the ultimate, because again, they are sending at that particular point, it's raw data. So that would be my suggestion with that. And we also have a comment from Tony too that was talking about the Ultimat. John, did you see that?
Yes, I did. I was just checking.
Yeah, and he was talking about, he says the Ultimat solutions are amazing for the price. Absolutely. And nowadays, especially with the cost of making a PC that only does green screening, why not? Like seriously, why not? At this particular point, that, as John said, it made no sense for him to all of a sudden, because by the time you build an Ultimat yourself, it's going to cost you more to build an Ultimat than it's going to be to buy one.
Yeah, definitely.
Right now at current pricing as of July 2026, and I'll put that in as our date stamp just in case we have our people on YouTube looking at us in the future. But yeah, when it comes to an Ultimat at this particular point, price-wise, compared to, again, a PC is a PC, a Mac is a Mac. Are they really built to be Ultimats? No, the Ultimat was built to be an Ultimat.
And you need the video cards.
That's right. Yeah, and even then, that's right. And John showed you too that you would need the capture cards to make sure that you're getting your inputs and your outputs out of that PC properly, so that you can actually split your key and your fill. So that obviously would have to get done too. And yeah, let me show again, just to remind everybody what we're talking about. You would need at least this guy that John's showing. And Tony also made a comment too. He said, even the HD Mini, which I'm assuming he's talking about the A10 Mini Pro, which I'm running today. Absolutely. Yeah. Now again, you've got to take into consideration that it is the A10 Mini Pro. Is it the Ultimat? No. The Ultimat is whatever chip that is being in the A10 Mini Pro, technology-wise, is similar technology because it's Blackmagic technology. But the Ultimat is so much more superior, where the A10 Mini Pro
controls.
Yeah.
Much finer controls, isn't it? It's got more settings that you can tweak.
And again,
it's not bad though, is it? I mean, it is, when you compare it to things like, the green screens that you have for, camera apps that have green screen removal, and all the, Zoom Teams, they've all got some green screen removal things, but it's all in software. And as you said earlier, Mike, it's dependent on the machine you're in. The machine you're in's got to do the green screen removal. It's still got to run the app that you gave it to start with. And it's obviously by definition not a dedicated machine, so it probably has some other stuff running in the background, like we have a few videos running on and I've got multi-screen as well, so that's increasing the power that's needed for this machine. So this is a Mac Mini, and I would not expect it to be able to have the horsepower with all those other things going on. I wouldn't expect it to have the horsepower left to be able to do more than a decent, a reasonable job at green screen. It's not going to have the finite controls. And the Blackmagic devices don't have the finite controls either. But yes, they've all got some basic green screen built in them. But that's where I said, if you've got a longer shot where there's not going to be so much spill problem because you're going to be a smaller image, that's when I would use the Blackmagic. And just to
Yep.
clear a few things up, the base level Ultimate doesn't have the tweaking to the same degree, but it's still better than an out of the box. And the base model is HDMI based, so that will work with your HDMI ATEMs. The middle of the range, the HD, has the extra controls. It's 1080, but it's SDI connectors. And then the higher range unit is 4K, got all the twiggling controls, and it's SDI connectors. So the base model does work well in that environment, and that's obviously why ATEM is HDMI for a lot of users, because their cameras and screens are, and Zoom's thought it's best to put that as an HD model for the base model, which makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. John said Zoom, but he meant Blackmagic. Absolutely.
Magic, sorry.
Yeah, yeah. And, well, Tony's also making the comment too. He said, "I meant even the Ultimate HD Mini, which is what John you just explained, right? So that's where the HD Mini, again, less capabilities, a little more than the A10 Mini Pro, but less than the actual true Ultimate HD, which is the ultimate one. There's a reason for that. The ultimate one to actually have the capabilities that a lot of the professionals will go into, because they won't necessarily know the environment itself may be all over the place, right?
Exactly. And the examples show you that they're thinking that way, because when they do the example for the base level machine, they talk about scenarios with podcasting. So you've got a group of people around a desk. They're not going to move much. So once they're lit and it's been set up for them, that's pretty much the way it's going to be. But when you go to the higher level, they use examples like TV presenters and weather presenters who don't stand just in one place. They do tend to move around a bit more, and therefore they need a more precise setting on them, because they are going to be an environment that they are going to move around. So you are going to have to make sure, like Mike said earlier, with the possible AI, you've got to be able to have the lighting look good in various scenarios when they're looking in different ways. And at that point, you need a more finite control to be able to make all those possibilities work in one place.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's all there is to it. And now you probably understand why I haven't actually used all these tools today, because it's taken us our hour just to go through the process and the organization and the background to everything. But don't worry, because there's always next week. And next week, I'm actually going to show you some of it in working. I'm going to do it quite well. I'm not going to be perfect, because I want to show you what the problems are. And I've already come across quite a few already before I've got to next week. And I'm sure I'll find a few more as I go into next week, into my small but, small stage here. What am I going to, does anyone want any, should I, no, I'm not going to sell off my stage. I'll still use this stage a heck of a lot, because I really like it and it works well. But how do you do it with a green screen on a budget? And of course, the big question, which I probably won't get to next week, is once you've got a green screen set up, how difficult would it be to take it to a venue, to use it, for a customer? Maybe a CEO wants to do a presentation, and you think you can get your CEO to do their presentation in front of a green screen, so you can put them somewhere else afterwards, rather than having to get them to that place. Maybe there's something that marketing want to do, and have him in different places. He can't physically be there because his time's too expensive. So you're going to build a green screen studio around him, so he or she, because they're better, those female bosses. How do you deal with that? So we're going to do a lot of greening. Gonna have a lot of fun with it. We're gonna have to try and persuade Mike to get a piece of green and dangle that behind him as well, and see what we can do with a remote green screen guest. It'd be interesting.
Green.
We know what VizRT have done, and can we match them?
Can we match them? Okay, that's a goal. That's impressive. All right.
And I've got some fun ideas. This is probably going to take us all the way into September.
Wow.
Unless, of course, some hardware manufacturer's got something new to release, but they don't tend to release stuff at this time. So I think we can just keep on this subject and pick the bones of it and have some fun with it and see what we can get out of the system. And somebody thought that was funny. I don't know who put that on the screen, but somebody on YouTube thought that was funny. Yeah, we're going to pull the bejesus out of this system, and I want to see what we can do. And if you've got any ideas, and please, if there are some manufacturers who want to show off, I don't mind you coming on the show and showing off your tech. It may be beyond us. It may be in our budget. But if you don't show us, none of the community will ever have a chance to try it. So please let us know. You know who you are. I'm not going to name drop you because the list's quite long now. But if you do want to show off your product, let us know and we'll happily have you here. I think that even if you don't go into green screen production, the whole idea of how you control your studio is important to all of us. And that's why it's my subject of greatest concern at the moment. But apart from that, this is the 12th day of the heat wave in the UK, which is really rare because our weather usually changes 12 times a day, not never for 12 days. We survived here. I hope you're all well. Thank you all for watching. Thank you, Mike, for helping me here and making sure that I am on message and on tech and don't talk absolute rubbish about any protocols that I may have heard of.
Yep. Not a problem, John, as usual. And I'll wrap it up in saying thanks, everyone, for joining us this week. And don't forget to, as normal YouTube people will always say, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. So don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to let YouTube know how much you love our content. And of course, we're always here every Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And that will be for another rendition. And you never know what Johnny's going to be green screening next week. So check us out. Don't forget to check us out. And don't forget, we are production professionals, right? And you're watching the Production Professionals Power Hour. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend. See you next week.
Lights go up and the cameras roll. Voice is clear and we're in control. Screens are live and the signals flow. Welcome to the place where the pros all go. Talking gear and the tools we trust. What works well and what gathers dust. From the studio floor to the online stage, we bring the knowledge page by page. Live or hybrid, in room or remote. Every shot and every note. Better systems, sharper sound. This is where the best is found. It's the production.